was telling her the story.
It's just so.
We'll search and find
We can
out
pay
what
for it.
Thomas.
I'm sorry, I screwed up. I just need a moment.
I think it's best if you leave. You said you were sorry.
Still miss that scene there. It's alright.
Ya, wis, putih bahaya.
Alright.
Wait.
Smoking. You alright?
Just sorry.
Come on, let's go.
That was intense. I'm not gonna believe what you just told me.
That scene's not raised yet.
What? Hey, wait. Something happened? What? What is it? What?
It's one of those pictures of him and his luggage.
How are you moving your luggage?
That's not the point. He didn't just stumble on us. He's a crazy man. Excuse me?
That's what he told me. Remember? He's dying. That's why he came here. He wanted to meet me before he's gone.
Why didn't he tell us that? Why lie?
Is it relevant? Wait later.
It's a dying industry, especially with streaming Netflix, Hulu, Roku, things of that nature. So, I was kind of on the downhill slope with cable, and I wanted to get in something new and exciting. And Solar City came to Pittsburgh, and that's where I'm at right now. And I decided to get on board with Solar City by doing solar. We actually grew the Pittsburgh office to about 25 people, and we became the #1 solar team on the East Coast. So, we had a really good run with Solar City. I really enjoyed it, but if any of you are aware of what happened with Solar City, kind of closed the doors on the direct sales channel, and so we had to look for new options. From there, I jumped right on to the sprint campaign in its early stages. I'm self-taught. I learned this campaign inside and out. I don't really have anybody teaching me or helping me, learn the ropes. So my entire goal is to train you guys to not have any of the same struggles that I had, and just to kind of set the tone for this meeting. If any of you guys have questions at any point throughout this training, please feel free to just start talking. Unmute yourself and ask a question. This training is a lot more beneficial when I get feedback from you guys. RMA, something may be brought up that I wasn't aware of. So I'm always trying to improve. So if you guys can do that for me and answer questions when I ask questions, I'd really appreciate it. So we'll just go ahead and get started. So why cell phones? Why did we choose to go with a cell phone campaign? First of all, no one has ever sold cell phones door to door. You know, it's always been cable, solar, magazines, energy. You know, those are kind of the top things out there right now that are door to door, Windows. And, you know, when we first started this campaign, we'd go up to someone's house and they're like, I don't want solar. And it's like, I'm not the solar guy, or I don't want cable. I'm not the cable guy, I'm the cell phone guy. And just saying that alone, you know, people are like, what? You're a cell phone guy? And, you know, that's why it's so powerful. You know, cell phones have evolved in a way that no other product ever has. You know, if you can think back to some of the first cell phones ever made, they were like bag phones, and then, you know, they became the brick phones with the huge antenna. And then kind of around my, you know, era was the Razor. You know, that was a pretty sick phone for the day. And then obviously the iPhone came about, and since then phones have just gotten, you know, more and more technologically advanced, and they seem to be getting better and better every year. So it's a really exciting industry to be in. You know, almost everyone that you can think of nowadays has a cell phone. It's become a commodity, and you know, people just expect to pay a cell phone bill. You know, people can't live without a cell phone. Everything about an individual's life is now in their phone. If you forget your phone when you're going to work, your whole day is pretty much going to be screwed up. You know, call people, no one can remember people's phone numbers anymore. You have to just rearrange your entire day because you forgot your phone. You know, they're people's lifelines now. You just can't live without them. And, you know, an actual fact is 99% of the time your cell phone is within 2 feet of you. So my cell phone right now is within 1 foot of me. You know, and even at nighttime when you plug your phone in to charge at night, it's usually right on your nightstand. A lot of people use their phones down for their alarms. So that is the power of cell phones nowadays. You know, people cannot live without them. It's a huge need and commodity. So also when we were starting this campaign up, you know, we were trying to decide why Sprint? Why would we go with Sprint? Obviously, Verizon Wireless is the #1, you know, phone provider in the country right now. However, it's a very saturated market for Verizon. So why would we want to go door-to-door selling Verizon? You know, when 90% of the people we're encountering already have it. You know, that's just, we don't want to do that. So we chose Sprint for a variety of reasons. #1, they kind of started the whole unlimited plan, which if any of you guys, I'm sure everyone knows what unlimited means. It's unlimited everything. You talk, text, data. You know, that's huge nowadays. Another reason we chose Sprint is because of their current pricing. We are literally cutting people's bills in half with Sprint's pricing. If you look at this price comparison here, this is based on their unlimited plans. One line with Sprint is $60. Line one with Verizon is $85. AT&T is $90. T-Mobile's $80. So, right there alone, one line, we're saving people money. And this is before they add on their cell phone plans, or their payments. So, where we really start to see a lot of savings is lines 2 and 5. So, if you look at it with Sprint, line 2 is $100, line 3 is $100, line 4 is $100, and line 5 is $100. So, 2 to 5 lines is $100. And if you look at Verizon, you know, lines 2 through 5 with Verizon is anywhere from $160 to $250. Like, it's just outrageous. You know, I'm sure some of you on here right now can look at this chart and be like, yeah, that's me. I'm paying way more than I should right now for my cell phone. So that's another reason why we chose Sprint. We're cutting people's bills in half. So another reason we chose Sprint, you know, they're #2 nationwide right now. And something that Sprint has kind of made their mantra or whatever is, don't let a 1% difference in network reliability cost you twice as much. They're literally within 1% of Verizon. So a Sprint executive gave us a study on this, and they made about 300 phone calls with Sprint and 300 phone calls with Verizon in a month, which I don't make that many phone calls in a month, but apparently that's kind of like what the average person would maybe do. And it's the difference of 3 dropped calls. So is 3 dropped calls worth paying an extra $1,200 to $2,000 a month for? Not really. You know, what's the worst that can happen? You drop the call, you hit redial, and you're back on the phone with the person. Sprint has also invested billions in improving their network to optimize flexibility and provide better performance than ever before. You know, Sprint isn't what it used to be. You know, back in the day, yeah, Sprint wasn't very good. Nowadays, they're great. You know, I personally switched from Verizon to Sprint. I haven't noticed a difference. If anything, I, you know, think it might be better in a lot of ways. For one reason, Sprint has higher data speeds. So a lot of people don't know this, but with Verizon, you're only getting, if you're streaming a video on your iPhone, you're only getting 720p. With Sprint, you're getting 1080p, and they're the only phone company out there that's doing that right now. So I know that doesn't matter to a lot of people, but you know, it does matter to some. More bandwidth, basically just, I mean, they've been increasing their towers, putting more towers up, so obviously the coverage is a lot better. Better voice quality. I mean, I haven't noticed a difference between Sprint and Verizon. You know, a phone call is a phone call. If you can talk to someone, you're talking to someone. So, you know, that's why we chose to partner with Sprint. They've also committed to adding 1,000 more retail stores nationally in this next upcoming year. So Sprint is really trying to grow. They want to become number one, and you know, that's why we decided to work with a company like Sprint. They're willing to invest money and grow and get better cost. And honestly, this is such an easy product to sell. This is probably the easiest product I've ever sold. You know, you walk up to a door, you already know your customer qualifies because they have a cell phone. And then it's just all about adding value with new phones and lowering their bills. So that's why we chose to go with Sprint. So I'm going to show you guys a quick video.
Hey, I'm Paul. I used to ask if you could hear me now with Verizon. Not anymore. I'm with Sprint now. Because guess what? It's 2016 and every network is great. In fact, Sprint's reliability is now within 1% of Verizon. And Sprint saves you 50% on most Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile rates. So I switched to Sprint. And millions more have too. Can you hear that?
Don't let a 1% difference cost you twice as much. Switch to Sprint today.
So before I move on, just to open it up to you guys, what are 2 things that you heard in that commercial that really stood out to you?
I'm sorry, I couldn't get a clear. I'm driving and I'm listening through speakerphone, so I couldn't really hear the video as much. Can you replay it?
Yeah, I'll play it one more time.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
I used to ask if you could hear me now with Verizon. Not anymore. I'm with Sprint now. Because guess what? It's 2016 and every network is great. In fact, Sprint's reliability is now within 1% of Verizon. And Sprint saves you 50% on most Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile rates. So I switched to Sprint. And millions more have too. Can you hear that?
Don't let a 1% difference cost you twice as much. Switch to Sprint today.
Okay, so, yeah, I want to get some feedback from some of you. Anything that you guys heard in that commercial?
Well, I like the 50% off, regular payments, less than what Verizon in AT&T T-Mobile.
Right.
And also I got out of that, it was talking about 1%.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, that I couldn't get a clear voice out of the speakerphone, so I didn't really understand that part. You could explain it to me.
Yeah. So
My main thing I got was the fact that they have right there in front of you a customer that switched over.
Yep. Yeah. So first of all, that guy used to be at Verizon.
Right.
Sprint. So that's obviously an attention grabber for all customers, people watching it.
Everybody knows he was the spokesman and basically the pinnacle for Verizon's advertising. So
Right. He said two things that were huge. The number one thing he said was it's 2017 and all phone carriers are great. You know, that's so true. A lot of people don't know this, but every cell phone company, they all share towers. Sprint, Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, they all share the same towers, and technology is getting better every single year. And yeah, it's 2017, people. Like, Sprint's not a $36 billion company for nothing. You know, if they weren't great, they would not be number 2 nationwide. So that's a huge one. And I say that a lot on the doors is, you know, when people are like, oh, I've heard Sprint's bad. Look, it's 2017. You know, all carriers are great. And another thing that he said was, don't let a 1% difference in cost you twice as much. So that is honestly one of the main things that hits home with a lot of people is, you know, wow, I'm paying twice as much for a cell phone where I can get it for, you know, way less and save myself $1,200 in a year. So those are just two very powerful statements that, you know, you guys just want to keep in mind as you're starting to sell this product. So this is kind of the secret recipe for selling Sprint on the doors. I'm sure all of you in sales have heard of KISS, keep it simple, stupid. You know, at the end of the day, you're just selling cell phones. You know, everyone knows what a cell phone is. You don't have to explain it. It's not like you're selling solar and you have to explain how everything works and how it's going to be installed. It's not a foreign concept. So at the end of the day, don't overcomplicate this sale. You're selling a customer a cell phone. You're getting them a new cell phone, and you're lowering their bill. It's that simple. You know, I've seen a lot of new reps come in, and the biggest mistake I see a lot of new reps make is they overcomplicate it. You know, they go into like, oh, I could get you the iPhone 7, you know, it's got like a 12 megapixel camera and like go into all the specs of the phone, and it just confuses the customer and they're like, I need to think about it. You know, so the simpler you keep the sale, the better you're going to be. Another thing you want to do at every single door is control the customer. You know, I mean, it kind of goes without saying, like in sales, if the customer's controlling you, you're probably not going to be able to close that deal. But there's several things that I do at every door to control the customer and control the conversation. I am always pre-qualifying the customer. If someone answers the door and they don't take care of their cell phone bill or they don't even know what they're paying, why would I waste 5 minutes with that customer only to find out I don't take care of that? You know, so you want to pre-qualify. Like, hey, are you the bill taker or the one that takes care of the bill? Yeah, okay, great. Next thing you want to do is you always want to pre-qualify your customers' credit. You know, you don't want to sell them a phone that they aren't qualified for. That was one of the biggest mistakes I made when I first got on this campaign, when I was learning it. You know, we were going into some lower end areas, selling people the dream on the iPhone 7, and you know, once we get in the house and run their credit, they owe like $400 down on the phone, and they couldn't get it. So You always want to pre-qualify your customers and get them the phones that they actually qualify for. CANI stands for constant and never-ending improvement. That's kind of like our motto here is, every week you want to always improve and get better. Like I was saying earlier, when I came onto this campaign, it was very new in its early stages, and there was really no one to help train me on this process. I just had to go out and fail and learn the product on my own. And there was about a 3-week phase that I have seen happen with me and with a lot of new reps. And, week 1, you learn the product, you get excited, you get pumped, you sell all your friends and families and, everyone in your network, and you make a lot of sales. You get all pumped up. And then the second week comes through and you start having to rely on the doors a little bit more. And that's where all your mistakes start coming in. So you either sign the customer up wrong, or you didn't sign them up the correct way and they canceled, or you misquoted or misled a customer and they canceled because what you told them was not right. Just a whole lot of mistakes can be made in that second week. And, by the time the third week rolls around, you've made so many mistakes, you're starting to think, wow, is this campaign even for me? And that's the whole purpose of this entire training. Today and tomorrow is all about getting all of you prepared so that you don't have that week 3 where you're considering quitting, where that week 2 is a lot easier on you. You're not making as many mistakes because you've been prepared and trained on them. So we always want to have constant and never-ending improvement. And then PAP just stands for paint a picture. You want to help the customer envision the phone in their hands, envision the new product, envision them saving more money and being happier. So if you can do all of those things constantly in every sale, every week, you're going to be really good at this campaign. So the next 2 videos I'm about to show you guys are some really funny commercials that Sprint actually made. And I'll talk a little bit about them after we watch them. So just watch them.
Hi, folks. I'm Uncle Danny with the Twice the Price store, where we'll sell you anything for twice the price. We got party supplies, twice the price. Toilet paper, twice the price. Motor oil, mops, colorful balls, twice the price. Wow! Sunglasses for the cool guy. Flowers for your bae, twice the price. These prices are unbeatable. Twice the price? Take my money. How much did you pay for that water? $1. That'll be $2. It's better because it costs more. But don't just take my word for it. Listen to this man or woman.
Having money is stressful. That's why I pay twice the price. Thanks, Twice the Price store.
I used to have twice the money, but not anymore. Twice the Price store saved my life. So come on down to the Twice the Price store today. Conveniently located right next to Verizon. If you're already here paying twice as much for their unlimited plan, why not hop on over and waste your money with us too?
You don't pay once, no, you pay more. It's twice the price at the Verizon store.
So pretty funny commercial. I actually show my customers these videos while I'm in their home, and I've literally had them say, wow, that makes me feel stupid. So right, I am paying twice as much for a cell phone. So this is just a great video to have, in your bag of tools to always show a customer, just to, paint that picture of what you're trying to sell and what they're really doing right now. So here's another commercial that kind of plays off of it. If I can.
Good morning. How are you? Welcome to the Twice the Price store. Wait, so everything's twice the price here? Yes. We just find out what our competitors are selling for, then we Yes. Nope, nothing wrong. Very cool.
The store sucks.
It's capitalism.
This is not capitalism. This is absolutely insane.
So pretty awesome commercials. We'll send these videos out to you guys later if you would like to have them. Just some powerful videos to show your customers at the door. So you know, this campaign is just super awesome. You know, it's probably the hottest campaign I've been on since being in sales. Something that's really great about it too is you guys are literally coming in at the perfect time. You know, with Christmas right around the corner, we just had Black Friday, but you know, all the deals are happening right now. You know, yesterday I was able to get out on the doors a little bit, and you know, it's just super simple. I just tell families, look, I'm helping families get new phones for Christmas and lowering their cell phone bills. And just that right there, you see people's eyes light up and they're like, oh my gosh, like we've been wanting to get new phones for our kids for Christmas. So it's literally like taking candy from a baby. And, you know, with you guys coming in at this time, you know, get excited about it. You know, start networking, start putting things up on Facebook, selling your family and friends, and getting out on the doors and, you know, hooking people up with great new phones and great prices. So with that, we're gonna, you know, start going into basically just the basics of the cell phone industry, and then you know, all the terminology, because at the end of the day, if you don't know how to talk about cell phones and, you know, the product knowledge, you're not going to be able to sell it. So a lot of you guys may know some of this already, but if you have any questions, please stop me at any time. So the basics. Give me 1 second. All right. So I mean, I literally just said that. Before you learn about Sprint and how to effectively sell it to its customers, it's important that you understand the basics of the mobile phone industry. So there are 2 types of mobile phone plans out there. The number one is postpaid, which essentially means customers are getting a monthly bill every month. And, you know, there's 4 main carriers that are thought of as postpaid carriers, and that's Sprint, Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. You know, those, I always like to say the big 3. I don't view T-Mobile as one of the big 3. I think of Sprint, Verizon, and AT&T as the top dogs. But those are the 4 main postpaid phone carriers. Now, then there's prepaid phone carriers. So the most common ones are Boost Mobile, Virgin Mobile, which are both owned by Sprint, Metro PCS, which is owned by T-Mobile, Cricket, which is owned by AT&T, and then there's Straight Talk, which people sign up for through Walmart, and Straight Talk just actually uses all the cell phone towers. So a prepaid mobile phone plan is when the customer pays for their phone upfront, so they don't have a monthly phone payment, and they pay before the month for whatever they want to use. So if they want to use 2 gigs of data for the month ahead, they'll pay for that and however many minutes they want to use. So these are just, you know, really good to keep in mind. You're going to run into a whole variety of these different plans, and you know, you want to be able to be educated about all of them so you can talk about them and then sell the customer Sprint. So one thing to note about prepaid phone carriers like Boost Mobile and Virgin Mobile, like I said, they are owned by Sprint. One of the biggest objections with people with Boost and Virgin, they'll say, why would I switch to Sprint? I technically already use the Sprint network. Well, they are right. They are on the Sprint network. However, they're only getting 1/3 of the coverage that a Sprint customer would get. So right there alone, you can bring that up to them. Look, Mr. Customer, you're on Boost right now, you're only getting 1/3 of Sprint's entire network. So what I want to do for you today is actually upgrade you to Sprint and get you the full network and coverage that you need. It's the same with Metro, PCS, and Cricket. You know, they're not getting the full coverage and network of those providers that they would if they actually had one of the postpaid carriers. Any questions on that? One thing to note is we can sign Boost Mobile and Virgin Mobile customers up, except they will have to get a new phone number. So just make a note of that because they are owned by Sprint. Boost Mobile and Virgin Mobile customers, if they sign up for Sprint, will have to get a new number.
Okay, I got a question.
Okay.
The reason that those customers are have those plans is because of their credit.
Yes.
So, I mean, if their credit is bad, then they can't get a phone, period, can they?
No, so that's a great question. I guess I'll just address it now. I usually address it later, but you hit the nail right on the head. If you run into someone with a prepaid phone carrier, it's not always the case, but generally it's because their credit isn't great, and if they wanted to go with Sprint, Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile, they would have to pay a huge down payment to to that plan. So that's a way I pre-qualify people. If they tell me they have Metro, I instantly know, okay, this person's credit's not good. With Sprint, we can sign anybody up, okay? It doesn't matter what their credit is, we can sign people up. Now, I will get into this in more detail later on, but there are certain phones that Sprint will sell people with bad credit so they don't owe a huge down deposit. So when I find someone with Cricket, Metro, Boost, I know their credit's not bad, or I know their credit's not good, so I am not going to talk about iPhones. I'm not going to talk about the high-end Android phones, which are the Samsung Galaxy S8s and the Note 8s. That was one mistake I made a lot when I started off in this campaign, and you would spend half an hour with that customer and only to find out that they owe like $300 down per phone. They don't have that. So it's just, you just got to qualify your customer and then get them the right phone that they can actually afford. And what we call it at Sprint is, we call it like a credit building program. Like, Mr. Customer, I'll get you a really nice Android phone for only $25 down today. Look, if you pay your bill on time for 12 months, you'll be able to upgrade for free to an iPhone or to a Note 8, whatever phone that in the past you haven't been able to afford, but because you've made your payments on time, you'll now be able to get that phone. Does that sound good? Yeah. Yeah, great question. I'll get into what kind of phones we generally sell shaky credit. So now we're just going to go over some important terms, like lines, spectrum, data, voice, coverage, roaming, all of those things. So a line refers to the user and their phone number. So, when you're referring to how many different phone numbers or users are on someone's account, you just say, how many lines do you have on your plan? We have 5. Okay, great. Wireless spectrum, you don't necessarily need to know this. It's never going to come up in conversation, but again, it's just to help you guys understand what the terminology is and how the cell phone industry works. Spectrum is the range of electromagnetic radio frequencies used to transmit sound, data, and video across the country. It's what can voice between cell phones, television, broadcasters to your TV, and online information from one computer to the next wirelessly. So that's what spectrum is. Data, you know, everyone knows what data is now. It's the transmission of data over the air. You know, it includes all internet-based communications and generally refers to the transmission to and from a mobile device. So the big thing nowadays is unlimited data. With Verizon, AT&T, you know, if you want an unlimited data plan, you're going to be shelling out a lot of money per month to have that. T-Mobile, I think they pretty much only offer unlimited or prepaid, you know, fine. And then there's Sprint, which obviously our cheapest plan is the unlimited. Voice, you know, obviously it just refers to the audio signal that transmits signal from device to device. It's transmitted when someone is communicating wirelessly. And then there's HD voice, which is just high definition voice quality. Again, not a huge deal for anybody. You know, it's 2017. All phone carriers are great. If you've had multiple cell phone companies in the last couple of years, you know they all sound the same. Coverage. Now, coverage is a big one. So, coverage is wireless telephones work by communicating via radio waves using a system of base stations, which are commonly known as cell towers. These towers send and receive calls and relay them to other networks. Because wireless phones communicate using radio waves, their reliability is influenced by many factors, such as the proximity of the phone to that tower, physical obstacles such as mountains, trees, buildings, etc., and, you know, other various types of interference. So that's one of the biggest things you'll hear people say on the doors all the time. I don't think there's a day that's gone by that I have sold Sprint and I haven't been asked the question, what kind of coverage will I get with Sprint? So just some things to know about coverage. If there are no cell phone towers in that area, like let's say you go to North Dakota, which is the middle of nowhere, there's nothing out there. There's no cell phone towers, so the coverage is going to be non-existent. There's going to be no coverage. Your cell phone's not going to work. Another rule of thumb is the flatter the area that you're in, the better the coverage is going to be. So if I'm from Columbus, Ohio originally, and if any of you guys have been out there, you know it's super flat, and coverage is great. Then I moved here to Pennsylvania in Pittsburgh, which is super hilly, and you get down into this valley between two mountains and you hit dead spots because those mountains create interference and your cell phones don't work as great. So coverage is a huge issue, especially in Pennsylvania with all the hills. You know, people want to know how the coverage is. One thing that I always do before I go into an area is I'm constantly educating myself on what the coverage is. So just to show you guys real quick, I'll share my screen with you. Okay, so if you Google Sprint coverage map and click on the first link, you'll see a map of the United States, and over here if you click legend, it shows you different colors. So if I Google Pittsburgh, PA, all of this dark orange or dark yellow and yellow. So the dark yellow says LTE plus. It's the best coverage around, which is great. This lighter yellow is is actually 4G. So still very fast connection. It's just not the fastest. But then if you like go over here, you can see this dark orange. According to the legend, that says it's 3G, which obviously you guys know it. 3G barely loads Facebook, and then in these white and gray areas, there's no coverage whatsoever. So you just want to educate yourself on what the coverage is like before. And yeah, you guys can see that's on the border of Ohio and West Virginia. So the last thing you want to do is go into an area where the coverage is just really bad and you're setting the customer up for a poor customer experience from the get-go. That's the last thing we want to do, because you don't want to hurt the Sprint brand, and yeah, you know that they're not going to have great coverage, so why sign them up? So always be checking that map before you go knock in an area, just to see what everything is like out there. So back to the PowerPoint. Roaming is another, roaming is a term that actually a lot of people aren't educated about, that I've found on the doors. But it's the term that describes a wireless phone's ability to make and receive calls outside of its own service provider. So if you have AT&T and you go into an area where there's no AT&T towers, your phone's not going to have any signal. It's not going to work. But with roaming, when your provider has roaming, which all providers do, if that AT&T customer were to turn their roaming on, their phone will now connect to Verizon towers, Sprint towers, T-Mobile towers in the area, so that their phone works. And what's really great about Sprint, which a lot of people don't know, is Sprint has unlimited roaming for free, which is part of the unlimited plan. So I actually ran into a customer yesterday. She said she had Sprint, they just got it, and she's like, I'm not happy with Sprint, the coverage stinks. And I'm in the same area, and I'm like, I have 5 bars, like, what are you talking about? And she's like, I don't know, it just doesn't work for me. So I took her phone, I went into her settings, and she had roaming turned off, which I don't know why she had it off. I was like, okay, here's what you need to know. I turned her roaming on for her, and instantly her bars like went up to 5. And she was like, oh my gosh, like, why have I not known about this? So that's just a great tool. Like, instantly I improved her customer experience with Sprint, and she suddenly became super happy with them. With T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T, they do not have unlimited roaming. One of my coworkers has T-Mobile, and he said he went into an area and his phone went into roaming mode. It started picking up Verizon towers, but then after like 10 minutes, a notification popped up that said your free roaming is up. And then he was going to get charged for every minute that he was using that. So just a great tool to use and to help you close customers down when they bring up what's the coverage like in an area. Does anybody have questions on that? Okay. Another big one that not a lot of people know about is hotspot. So a mobile hotspot is a setting that can be found on your smartphone. What it does is creates a small area of Wi-Fi coverage that allows nearby Wi-Fi devices to connect to the internet through data coverage of the cell phone. Most iconic smartphones can connect up to 10 devices per unit. So still a lot of people don't know what a hotspot is. Basically the way I describe it to people is, look, if you have a tablet and that doesn't have data and you go on a road trip and you want to watch YouTube on it, you can connect it to your cell phone's hotspot and have internet. People are like, oh wow, that's really cool, I didn't know that. With Sprint, with Sprint's unlimited plan, they give you 10 gigs of 4G speeds of hotspot. So it is unlimited, but after those 10 gigs of 4G hotspot are used up, they tether it back to 3G. The reason they do that is if they gave you truly unlimited hotspot, then everyone would go out, cancel their internet provider, and then use their phone's hotspot to stream their Netflix, Xbox, whatever it is, and it would really bog down their network, and it would just be awful. So, one thing that I have learned is people with T-Mobile think they have truly unlimited hotspot, but if you go onto their website and read the fine print, it's the same as Sprint. 10 gigs of 4G hotspot, then they tether you back to 3G. So that's just another example of always educating yourself on what the competition's products are and what they offer. So Sprint doesn't lie to people. They just say you get 10 gigs of it and then we tether you back. But that's actually really handy. I've gotten creative and helped people that are very tight with money save even more money. This one gentleman, he was very tight with medical bills, and I asked him, I was like, sir, do you use your internet a whole lot? He's like, no, I only check my emails. So what I told him to do was cancel his internet, which was running him $70 a month. I signed him up with Sprint, and I told him just use your hotspot for your internet. You can connect your laptop and everything to it. And he was so grateful for that he sent me like 5 referrals because of it. So mobile hotspot is a huge one with a lot of customers. With Verizon, I believe it's $30 a month to have that hotspot. So mobile phone contract. Contracts, once again, are only required mainly with postpaid phone providers, and they vary from provider to provider as far as price and terms are concerned. However, nowadays it's super rare that you're actually going to find someone that is in a contract with a cell phone provider. Rather, almost actually all phone providers have moved to requiring mobile phone payments. So there's a big difference. Like with cable, you're in a contract. If you break that contract, you get hit with all these huge fees. With phone providers nowadays, they'll say like a 2-year contract, but all that means is a 2-year mobile phone payment plan. So they're breaking up that $650 iPhone 7 in monthly payments. But if you pay it off up front, you're not in any contract. You're just paying the monthly service fee to use their data, if that makes sense. So what Sprint has right now is a mobile phone lease. It works similarly to any other kind of lease fee. Depends upon the provider and what device and what promotions are running, but it's a monthly payment that the customer agrees to pay every month while they have the service, and then when they're done paying it, they have to turn that product back in. They actually don't own it. With Sprint, they have what's called what our unlimited plan is. It's an unlimited flex freedom plan. So they give you the option to purchase the phone at the end of the lease and own the phone outright. This is another example of something you'll run into the field a lot. Not a whole lot, but you're going to run into people who like to buy their phones outright because they don't like to have that monthly payment. But in the long run, it's actually cheaper to lease a phone than buy a phone outright. And the next slide is actually going to show you guys why. So the iPhone 7 right now costs $650 brand new from Apple. So if you lease a phone for 18 months, it's going to be $412.56 for 18 months. Now, at the end of that lease, if the customer wants to own their phone, they would have to pay a one-time fee of $162. So 412 plus 162 is $574. So the customer just saved $76 by going with an 18-month lease rather than purchasing an iPhone 7 outright upfront. It's the same way with the Samsung Galaxy S8s. They're once they get through the 18-month lease, they would have to pay a one-time fee of $187.50 to keep that S8. So when I've ran into customers that say like, oh, we don't like to lease phones, we like to purchase them outright, I actually do this little exercise with them to show them, look, leasing is actually cheaper. So now these are just some more advanced terms that you will actually have to explain to almost every single customer, and this is what makes you the professional in the home. So protection, all that stands for is basically insurance. A lot of people get protection on their phones nowadays because phones are so expensive. If you break it, you don't want to get slapped with a huge fee to buy a whole new phone, brand new phone. So a protection plan is a guarantee that the provider will offer each customer in order to protect their devices. Most protection plans are paid for in monthly payments as part of the customer's bill, and they vary in price from provider to provider. With Sprint, our protection plan is $13 a month. Now, the way it works is it's basically that $13 a month is just a deductible, okay? So if someone broke their iPhone 7 in month 2 of having Sprint, in the terms and conditions of the insurance, it says they still have to pay a $200 fee, okay? So what Sprint would do is you take your phone and you're like, hey, I broke my phone. They would charge you the $200, and then they would actually look on your insurance plan and say, oh, he's paid 2 months, so he's paid $26 so far. We'll actually deduct that from the $200 fee. So that's how the insurance works. Most people always end up still having to pay some money, but it's just basically protecting yourself from having to pay the full $650 up front for a new phone. And for every device that we add protection on to a customer, we make commission off of that, okay? So that's just something to keep in mind. Now, porting. Porting is another one that's actually really confusing to a lot of customers, and new reps haven't been able to quite explain it. So the definition is it refers to when one provider submits a request to another provider in order to transfer a new customer's previous number to the new provider's network. It is important to understand that virtually every customer will want to keep their previous phone number and port it over when they choose to switch providers. Not all numbers are eligible for porting between carriers. Now, as far as that statement with most customers will want to keep their previous phone number, that just varies. I haven't had much trouble convincing people to get new numbers when, they have Boost or whatever. At the end of the day, you're saving people a lot of money. But the way the porting process works, and this is the best practice, this is the best way to go about porting a customer's number. Once you're inside their home making the sale and putting the order in through our portal, which is called Stratus, it's going to ask you for information to port their numbers over. You're going to have to provide the customer's current provider's account number. So let's just say Verizon. They're going need their Verizon account number and their PIN, and then all of the phone numbers that they want to keep. You're going to put that information into Stratus, and all that does is it sends a request to Sprint, sends a request to Verizon asking that once these phones are activated, they'll have them on their new phones. One of customers' biggest concerns is, if you do this now, will I not have service for a couple days while I'm waiting on my phones? No, absolutely not. You're always going to have service. So most people think of, when they hear porting, they think it instantly happens. That's not the case. The way it works is, once you port their numbers in their house, when their phones show up on their front doorstep, 2 days later, a day later, whatever it is, once they turn their phones on and follow the activation prompts on their phone, that's when their numbers are going to become activated on their new phone. So there's never a lapse of service for them. So just keep that in mind. You need to port the numbers with the customer in the house too, for two reasons. We found that it creates a better customer experience for the customer. They don't have to worry about anything. We're the professional. We know how to do it. They don't have to do that. Number two, if you don't port the numbers, then that makes the customer have to do it. It can create stress for them, and they could end up canceling for a variety of reasons, and you just don't want that. So we have seen that when we port numbers over with the customer in their house, cancellation rates have dropped dramatically. And when we don't port numbers, cancellation rates have risen dramatically. So always, always, always port the number with the customer in their house so that they don't have to do it themselves. Content transfer. So this is another big one for a lot of customers, is when they get a new phone, they're going to want to keep all their pictures, their apps, their contacts, videos, etc. And they're going to want to move them from one device to the new device. Generally, most people, when they get new phones, they take it into, a Verizon, a Sprint, AT&T store, whatever it is, and they have the technician in there do it for them. However, if any of you guys have been in a cell phone store, you know that it is not a quick process. They make you take a ticket, stand in line for hours just waiting on them, and at the end of the day, you feel like you got robbed. So there's different ways to transfer content between different phones. Excuse me. With Apple devices, you want to back up all the content to the iCloud. So I'm an iPhone user. It's super easy. Whenever you get an iPhone, you actually have to log into your iCloud, and then if you got a new phone, all you do is log into your iCloud, and bam, everything's instantly on your new iPhone. However, not a lot of people people who aren't tech savvy aren't going to even know what their iCloud is. They probably don't have it set up. So, to get there, you can go to settings, storage, and iCloud usage. Another way is with Androids. Most Androids come with, if you got a Samsung phone, you're going to have a Samsung iCloud app on your phone. And all you do is just tell the customer to download or back up their phone, and then once they get their new phone, all their content's on it. Another thing, though, a lot of people are doing nowadays is actually just Google. So most people have a Google account now. You can log into that on your new phone and old phone, and it will back everything up for you. And then non-smartphones or flip phones, you can use the Bluetooth feature, but honestly, if someone doesn't have a smartphone, it's because they're not tech savvy. They don't want all that technology. They don't know what Bluetooth is. In that instance, you just got to tell them, go to a Sprint store, and they will help you out. However, there is an app that we have paid for that actually, if I ever run into a customer that is not tech savvy, and I know that if I explain the iCloud to them or how to back up their phone with an Android, it's just going to overwhelm the customer. I just tell them to download this app. So we actually have this app called CTX that they download on their new phone and old phone, and everything's backed up and ported over to their new phone. I've never had one customer call me and ask me how to use it because it is super simple and straightforward and to the point. I'll actually give you guys the link for that and the password for that a little bit later. So, contract buyout. A contract buyout refers to when one provider offers a new customer the ability to pay off a certain amount of any remaining penalty fees after they have discontinued their previous services through the new provider. For example, as most of you probably already know, Sprint offers each new customer up to $650 per line to pay off any fees that they have with their previous provider. There are some more details to this buyout, though. So, how the whole contract buyout works. When I switched to Verizon, I went through this process and I got all my money back. Just a side note, I highly recommend all of you guys to sign yourselves up for Sprint today for a variety of reasons. Number one, you are going to be able to see the process from start to finish. You're going to know exactly what the customer is going to be going through themselves. So therefore, you'll be able to better educate them on what to expect. And number two, you're going to be getting commission on yourselves. So why not sign yourselves up and make money in the process? And then also, having Sprint on your cell phone is the biggest tool that I have used to close customers. So you're going to find this once you start selling it. You get into a customer's home, you're selling them on Sprint, and the question's going to come up, well, do you have Sprint? When I didn't have Sprint, when I first started doing this, it was super hard to convince a customer why I didn't have Sprint, and they wouldn't want to buy. Now I just show them, yeah, I have Sprint, and they see how good of my service is, and they're like, okay, awesome, we'll sign up. So, sign yourself up for Sprint so you know how everything works. Because of that, you're actually going to learn how this buyback process works as well. So, when I switched from Verizon to Sprint, I had an iPhone 6 that I still owed $325 on. And I'll actually just go to the website right now to show you guys how this looks. So if you go to sprint.com/buyback, this is the front page. When I got my early termination fee from Verizon, it said $325, and I got my new phone with Sprint. I went to this website. I hit sell, okay, because that's the first thing you want to do. Next, I selected my previous provider, which was Verizon, and then I hit Apple. I had an iPhone 6s, and it was a 16 gigabyte iPhone. So the results come down. Click on that. Okay, so you can see that the value of this phone right now is estimated at $135. So the next process is you hit proceed. Now though, they're going to ask you some quick questions on your phone. Does the device power on and off? I said yes. Has the Find My iPhone feature been disabled? I said yes. Now, is anything broken, cracked, or missing? my iPhone 6 had a huge crack in the top right-hand corner of the screen. So, I obviously said yes, and look at that. It took the value down to $68. If I would have said no, it would have kept it at $135. However, once I put in my IMEI number, it actually took the value even more down to $25. So, once I completed this survey, Sprint sent me a box in the mail, and I put my iPhone in it, sent it to a FedEx store, followed the instructions, and it took 2 days for Sprint to get my phone. I got an email from them. They said, "Congratulations, we got your phone." Because the value of my phone was valued at $25, whatever the value of it is, they're going to put that on your Sprint bill as a one-time credit. Okay, so I owed Verizon $325. The value of my phone was $25, so they put that on my bill as a one-time credit. After that, they sent me a $300 Visa prepaid card in the mail for the remaining money that I owed to Verizon, and I used that to pay off Verizon. So that's how the buyback works. Whatever the value of the phone is valued at, it goes on your bill as a one-time credit. The remaining money then comes to you in the form of a Visa prepaid card. So it's a wash either way. However, I personally like it when your phone's valued for less money, because then you get more money on the card and you can just use that to pay off your previous provider.
When does the previous provider expect you to pay them?
So that's a good question. Once you port your numbers over, so when we ported our numbers over from Verizon to Sprint, they instantly knew, okay, we don't have that, that customer anymore. So the next month, for the next month's bill came in, it just had our early termination fees, which in my case was $325. Once I got that, I completed this whole process, and it took me I think from start to finish 20 days to complete it, and I paid it. So it's just like any bill, they give you some time to pay it. I believe they give you 60 days because that's what Sprint gives you to complete this process as well, is 60 days. So I just tell all my customers, look, the quicker you complete this process, the quicker you're going to get your money and you're able to pay off your previous provider. But at the end of the day, it comes down to whenever they get that bill. You could have signed them up today, which is one of the first couple days of the month. Well, they're not going to get their early termination bill till next month, so they have some time to get that money.
So I got one more question. It's 2 parts.
Okay.
First part, me and my sister just got on a plan with Verizon 2 weeks ago. So she got the new iPhone 8, and when you do the buyback, it doesn't come up as an option.
Okay. That is a stumper. Here, let me go back. So,
Oh, there it is.
where?
To go back one. iPhone 8 Plus.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, you can also look at you can narrow the search down to Apple. Yeah, so you got the iPhone 8 Plus there. Yeah, you got all the iPhones there.
I guess my second part of the question is, what happens if, I've already talked to a couple people. What if they don't know what their cancellation fee is and what they owe on their phone and all that stuff?
Yeah, so part of the sales process with every customer is, do you have a copy of your bill? Now, most people do know what they owe on their phones. Actually, let me backtrack. The qualifying question I ask people is, are you still making phone payments on your phone? They'll say, yeah, most people are. How I know if they're under $650 or not, I just ask them a simple question. How long have you been making payments on that phone? If it's like 3 months or more, they're guaranteed to be under $650, because the only phone over $650 right now is like the iPhone 10, the Galaxy Note 8, the Samsung S8, I believe, but all other phones are under that price. So if a customer, in your case, for instance, you just signed up within 2 weeks, okay, I'm going to need to see a bill. So if they have a hard copy, that's awesome. If not, they'll just have to log in on their phone. Then you can go to their phones and it will say payments 1 of 48, and it'll tell you how much they owe. So I just walk the customer through that process so I can educate them. Oh, Mr. Customer, you owe $700. We're going to cover all but 50 of that. That's not a problem, is it? No, it's not a big deal because you're saving me. We're saving them hundreds of dollars every month. So that's the process that I go through with the customer.
Then what about like a cancellation fee? Because I think I was looking up my Verizon account trying to see what a cancellation fee would be. And I know you mentioned that most plans are just for the leased phone.
Yeah.
How do we find out if there's like a $250 cancellation fee for the service?
It should say in like the terms and conditions that your provider gave you, but it's almost always just for the phone itself. So we weren't sure about that when we switched. We're like, are there going to be any hidden fees? And the $25, so I owed $325, they taxed what I owed, essentially. So that $25 was basically just taxes. So if you owe $600 on a phone, just throw some tax money on that, and that's probably going to be close to what the fee's going to come in as. But it should be in your terms and conditions. Any other questions about that? Okay, so the fulfillment process, after you submit the order, the phones will just ship from the warehouse overnight, and your customer should receive the devices within 1 to 2 business days. Once the devices arrive, the customer will power on the devices and follow the on-screen steps in order to activate the devices. So general rule of thumb is 1 to 2 business days for the customer to receive their phones. So if you signed them up on Friday, obviously Saturday and Sunday are the weekend, they're not going to get their phones till realistically Monday or Tuesday. However, right now, because it's the holidays and phones are in high demand, we've started to see shipping times grow a little bit to like 3 to 4 days. Sprint actually just put out a flyer on what the realistic shipping dates would be. I just prep my customer, and at the end of every sale, you're going to get a tracking number. If you just give that to the customer, they can track their phones and they'll know exactly where they are, and you won't have any problems. So it is like 1:15. Does anybody have any questions for me before we move into pricing and exactly what all of our phones cost?
Yeah, I guess real quick.
Okay.
So my sister's phone, I think I'm trying to look right now. I think it's like $800 still, because she hasn't even made a payment yet, right?
Okay.
So if I go into the buyback and I put her device in, let's say it's worth $300.
Okay.
They'll deduct the $300 and then give her they would give $300 credit and then give the entire 650.
No, so they'll put whatever the value of her phone is. So let's just say you're saying on the website it's valuing at $300.
That's just my guess. I'm gonna check right now. Actually, iPhone 8, 64 gigabyte. There it is. It's 360.
Okay, so they're gonna put $360 towards your first bill credit, which for 2 lines, you know, you're only gonna be at like 130. So realistically, for like the next 2.5 months, you're not gonna have a bill because they put $360 towards bill credits.
Mm-hmm.
The remaining, let's do some math here. 200 whatever dollars is going to come to her in the form of a Visa prepaid card.
So 290, right?
Yeah.
And then she still owes 800 on the phone.
So she still owes 800 to Verizon. So she'll use that $290 Visa prepaid card, obviously, to pay back Verizon. And then it's a wash. So since Sprint's giving you $360 on your bill credit, you know, that just helps you not have to worry about your bill and paying them off. You can just write a check to Verizon and pay off the remaining $600 that she owes. So either way you look at it, you know, your sister's just going to have to pay 200 some bucks out of pocket to get out of Verizon because Sprint only covers up to 650.
All right.
So I mean, yeah, your scenario is a little tough just because you guys just signed up. But a lot of times you don't run into that. But that's a great example of just how you walk the customer through what they'll owe. Now, one good thing, a really great promotion that Sprint is running right now, they've been running it for the entire length of this campaign, it's called Love My Credit Union. So I always, like John, in your case, you guys got to pay like $200 out of pocket, basically. I'm going to ask you, look, John, do you have a credit union? If you tell me yes, that's perfect. What Sprint does is anyone who has a credit union and signs up for the promotion will get $100 deposited into their credit union account per line that they sign up. So in John's case, he signed up for 2 lines with Sprint. He would get $200 in his credit union account. And then once year 2 rolls around, they're going to give you $50, per every line that you still have activated with Sprint. And that just keeps happening annually. So right there, his credit union's giving him, he's going to get $200 in his credit union that will actually float the rest of the money that he owes to Verizon. And I'll send that link out to you guys as well a little bit later. Does anybody have any questions for me regarding anything we've gone over to this point? You guys are a quiet class. All right. Let's take a quick, it's 1:20. Let's take a quick 10-minute break, and then I'm going to get into the Sprint promotions and pricing on phones and actually go over the difference between good credit customers and bad credit customers and which phones you guys want to sign them up for. So I'll be around in the next 10 minutes. If you have any questions, feel free to just ask. But let's all be back and ready to go at 1:30. when you transfer your number to Sprint. So if someone wants to keep their same phone number and they want to bring it over to Sprint, they're going to get that iPhone 8 for $9.72 a month. It's the best deal out there right now.
Right.
So
So all you do is all you do is transfer your number. You don't have to trade in a phone, anything else, and you can get that deal.
correct.
Okay.
But again, this is related to the iPhone 10. You're saving $350, right? So if that customer, let's just say they owe money on their phone, and they trade their phone in, Sprint's only going to pay up to $300 of buyback money.
Right.
So
I do understand that. Yeah. If they owe enough that they need to trade it in, they are only getting up to the $300 of buyback because they're getting the $350. I happen to be in a scenario where I don't. In fact, I just paid off my phone. My wife only has a couple payments, so I'm looking at this in those terms. I can get an iPhone 8 without trading in a phone for the $972 a month.
correct. What kind of phone do you have right now?
iPhone 6.
Okay. So this is another scenario for people who own their phones, because you will run into people that are like, I just bought the iPhone 10 outright. I don't owe anything on it. Those are like the hardest to convert to a new and here's a way around that. It's like, okay, awesome, you own your phone. You can actually sell that on third-party markets now, such as like eBay, and get hundreds of dollars for them. Like, iPhones are selling for hundreds and hundreds of dollars over in China right now. So if you threw an iPhone 10 up on eBay right now, someone in China would most likely buy that for like $1,200. So you just actually made money. So that's another scenario. But honestly, that only works for people who are tech savvy and obviously work with eBay. But just around it. So the iPhone 10, iPhone 8, and iPhone 8 Plus all have that same deal. You can get the iPhone 8 Plus for $13.89 a month when you transfer your number. And the buyback would only be $300. So all three of these phones are incredible deals right now. Now, another great deal, if someone says they use Android, the Galaxy Note 8 is 50% off. It's $20 a month. And if you click on the deal available, it's just save 50%. There's nothing special about it. It's a great deal. When this phone first came out with Sprint, and we just started this campaign. Sprint actually had a pre-order, and people could get it before anybody else. I was selling this at every single door. It was like, again, taking candy from a baby. If someone told me they used Androids, look, man, I can get you the Note 8 right now for $20, and they're like, oh, come on in. I personally think this phone is the best phone on the market. I've used the Note 8 and the iPhone 10. They're both great phones, but honestly, I think this one is the best. But again, if you're iPhone, get the iPhone 10. It's the best iPhone out there. The iPhone 7 and iPhone 7 Plus have a really good deal on them right now. However, just keep this in mind, the iPhone 8 is still the better deal. So right now with the iPhone 7 and iPhone 7 Plus, it's lease one, get one free. So if you go on the thing, it says get a new iPhone 7 on us. When you lease any iPhone 7 or 7 Plus, you can get a bill credit of $22.92 a month on the second phone, or also known as get the second one for free. but you can see here that an iPhone 7 is $22 a month. Well, you could give them 2 iPhone 8s for $9 a month, and it's $18 rather than 22. So it's still a better deal. The lease one get one deal also works for the iPhone 7 Plus, except it's a little more complicated. So I actually made like a quick spreadsheet or like example for you guys to see, just because it's a lot easier to visualize than to explain. Okay, so the way the lease one iPhone 7 or 7 Plus deal works, you can lease one iPhone 7, 32 gigabyte for $22.92 a month, and then you can get the second one for free, or which comes out to be a $22.92 a month bill credit. So there's 2 examples. Let's say a customer wants 2 iPhone 7 Pluses and 2 iPhone 7s. The first iPhone 7 will be full price, $27.92 a month. The iPhone 7 will be free because they get a bill credit of $22.92 a month, and that's exactly what the price of the iPhone 7 is, okay?
How long is the bill credit for?
The full 18
months? Okay.
Yep. The third iPhone 7 Plus will be full price again, $27.92 a month. The fourth iPhone 7 will be free because it's worth $22.92 a month, and that's the credit that they will put on your bill. So total bill will be $154.84 before taxes. Did that make sense to everybody? All right.
Yes.
Awesome. So now I'm going to get into the iPhone 7 Plus, which this is where it kind of trips people up. Let's just say you have a customer that wants 2 iPhone 7 Pluses. First iPhone 7 Plus is going to be full price, $27.92. The second one will be only $5, okay? Because the deal applies to the value of an iPhone 7, which is $22.92 a month. So what they'll do on the bill is just subtract $22.92 from the full price of $27.92, and it comes out to be $5 a month. So the price of 2 iPhone 7 Pluses will now be $132 a month before taxes. And that's because 2 lines of service with Sprint's $100, 27 plus 5 is 32. So the total month's bill will be $132 a month for 2 iPhone 7 Pluses. Just to explain the deal a little bit more, here's how it's broken down. So we can only sell up to 10 lines to each customer. So line 1, $60. So if someone just wants 1 line, it's $60 plus whatever the phone payment is. Line 2 is $40. So 2 lines of service, $100. Lines 3, 4, and 5 are free. So 2 to 5 lines, $100 for unlimited everything. Anything after 5 lines is $30 per line. So line 6 would be $30, line 7 would be $30, 8, 9, 10, so forth. So just to ask a question, how much would it be if someone wants to sign up for 7 lines?
Is it about 160?
Yep, $160 a month. She got there because 5 lines is 100, and then line 6 was 30, and line 7 was 30, so that's 160. And then obviously
that wasn't so hard.
Yeah, it's not. but it is kind of confusing sometimes, so it's just easier for people to visualize. But then obviously you have to add on the phone payments. So let's just say the customer wanted 7 iPhone 8s. Well, the iPhone 8 runs for $9.72. If they port the numbers over, that times 7 is $68.04 plus the $160 for all the lines. Their total bill before taxes would be $228.04. So that's that. All right. The Samsung Galaxy S8. This is the phone I almost always sell to every Android user. 95% of people out there that have Androids have a Galaxy phone. Samsung is like the Apple of Android, if you want to put it in those terms. We have a crazy good deal on it right now. It's 50% off. So if you want to go to Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, it costs you $31 a month to pay for this phone. But with Sprint, it's $15. If you click on the deal, yeah, it's just 50% off. Great deal. So when I ask a customer, when I'm qualifying a customer to see what kind of phones they have at their door, Mr. Customer, do you use iPhone or Android? Oh, I have Android. Perfect. I'm not even asking him then what kind of phone he wants, because I know that the odds of him having something other than a Samsung are super low. So I'm just going to say, in my head, if he wants one line, I'm thinking, okay, it's going to be $15 for the S8 plus the line of service, which is $60. His total bill will be $75 before taxes. And that's where I've seen, and I said this before, that's where I've seen new reps lose deals, because I'll just play it the way a new rep would play this scenario. Mr. Customer, do you use iPhone or Android? I used Android. Oh, okay, cool. Like, what kind of phone do you have? I have a Samsung. Great. So, would you want the Samsung S8, or would you want the Samsung Note 8, or maybe the Samsung S8 Plus? It's a little bit bigger than the S8, but not quite as big as the Note 8. You just start to word vomit on the customer, and bog him down with so many different, phones and all the specs, and it overwhelms the customer. And 9 out of 10 times the customer is going to be, man, I need to think about that. They're going to have to do the research now, because you just got them thinking, like, man, what kind of phone do I want? So I almost never ask people what kind of phones they want. I just tell them what kind of phones they're getting, and then once I'm in the house reviewing the order with them, that's when it's time for the customer to tell me what they want. So after you've already built rapport, you've hooked the customer. So for me, I'm thinking, okay, I'm giving this guy the S8. I get in his house, I qualify him, I'm signing him up, and I'm like, all right, so I actually got you the Samsung S8 today. Great phone. At that point, the customer's going to say, awesome, that's the phone I wanted, or, you know what, I was wanting to try out the Note 8. Do you guys have that? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Your price is your monthly bill is only going to go up $5. Is that okay? Yeah, perfect. So that's the way I handle that. iPhones, it's a little different. Mr. Customer, do you have iPhone or Androids? We have iPhones. Okay, great. What kind of iPhones do you have right now? We have the iPhone 7s. Perfect. I can get you a brand new iPhone 8 for $9 a month. Great, And I walk into their house. If they say, oh man, I was actually thinking about getting the iPhone 10. Okay, yeah, we can. I can hook you up with the iPhone 10. It's just a little bit more expensive. Your bill might actually, depending on how many you want, your bill might be pretty high still. So if people have iPhones, the best deal out there right now is the iPhone 8. It's what I give 90% of iPhone customers. If they have Androids, 95% of my customers are getting the Samsung S8, and then the remaining 5 are getting the Note. So there's really only 2 or 3 phones I sell to good credit customers: the iPhone 8 or the iPhone 10, depending on which one they want, the Note 8 or the S8 to Android users, whichever one they want. Those are the only phones I sell. I have never sold the Galaxy S8 Active, the LG V20, the LG V30, the Stylo, the J7 Perks. I don't get into all these phones. It just overwhelms the customer. So the next thing that I want to get into is customers with building credit. And someone on this call brought that up. Like, look, if they have a prepaid cell phone plan, it's probably because their credit's bad. They're not going to be able to afford some of these phones. Because if you go up to here, and let's just say you're working in a low-end area, a lot of people aren't going to have a 650 credit score. If you click on building credit, it just changed all the pricing on all the phones. Look at that. The iPhone 10 has a $275 deposit up front today. The iPhone 8, $175 down today. $200 down today on the iPhone 8. And these numbers are not set. So if you sell a guy or sell him the dream of getting the iPhone 10, and let's just say his credit's below 500, he's going to owe a lot more than $275 down. He's going to owe more like $400 down. This one guy I talked to yesterday told me his credit was good, and I qualified him, and he was lying to me, and he owed $600 down per iPhone 8. So I was like, dude, I can't help you out. So these numbers change the down deposits depending on where their credit falls. But rule of thumb, if people say they have bad credit that's below, I would say 620, do not talk about iPhones. Do not talk about Androids, the high-end Androids. So the S8, the Note 8, just don't talk about those phones. There are 2 phones that I sell in low credit areas, maybe 3. And this is the number 1 phone I sell. The Essential phone is like, it's not made by Samsung or LG. It's kind of like a designer phone. But I personally think the Essential phone's better than the iPhone 10. It has a 4K front-facing camera and back-facing camera, so it videos in front and back 4K. It's got 2 13-megapixel cameras on the back, so that's already better than the iPhone. It's a huge screen. It's just a fast processor. And look, it's only $5 a month and $25 up front. So if I run into a customer with 2 phones on Boost Mobile, okay, I'm already starting to think, okay, his credit might not be great. Mr. Customer, how's your credit? It's not good. It's like probably 575. I just had some medical bills I was late on, all these things. Hey, not a problem, man. So now I'm thinking, okay, for 2 Essential phones, I can get him done today for $50 down. That's all he's going to have to pay. Mr. Customer, look, man, I can actually get you on all of Sprint's network, so I'm actually going to upgrade your coverage. You're on Boost right now. You're only getting 1/3 of the network coverage. I'm going to upgrade you to Sprint. I'm going to get you truly unlimited talk, text, data, and I'm going to throw in a hotspot. Your total bill for 2 lines, two essential phones is going to be $110 a month before taxes. Do you have $50 down today that I can get this done? Yeah, man, absolutely. Come on inside. Perfect. I'm going in. I'm closing the deal down. If he doesn't have $50 on him, I'm walking away. I ran into a guy yesterday. He said he had 1 line with Metro PCS, and I was like, hey, have you heard of the Essential phone? He's like, yeah, man, that's a sick phone. I was like, perfect. I can get you done today for $25. He's like, I don't have it. I don't have a debit card on me right now. So he's actually getting a prepaid card today that he's going to put the $25 on. He wants me to call him up tomorrow to sign him up. So I didn't waste any more time with him. I walked right off of his doorstep, because the last thing you want to do is not ask if they have the money, spend half an hour to an hour with that customer, and then they tell you that at the end and you just wasted an hour of your day. So that is the number one phone I sell to with people with poor credit. There is one negative about it. It doesn't have a headphone jack slot. So I know Android users hate that about iPhones, that they're doing away with all the headphone plugs or whatever. So that could be an issue. If they don't want the Essential phone, I'm selling them the J3 Emerge. It's a little bit smaller Android. It's a Galaxy phone. Samsung, again, the best Android maker out there of cell phones. It's $5 a month, only $25 down.
Quick question.
Okay.
For the Essential, what if the person's credit was good?
Yeah, so great question. There are several phones that, regardless of people's credit, there's still down payments. The Essential phone is one of those. So I just switched it back to good credit, and it's still $5 a month, $25 down. Same for the J3 Emerge. Regardless of credit, $5 a month, $25 down. So those are the 2 phones I always sell, though, to people with building credit.
Because what I was thinking is that that phone is not that bad. I mean, it's a pretty good phone. So for people who have several lines, maybe the older folks, like, grandparents, mom, dad, who doesn't, not really tech savvy, they could actually have that phone and they could use that $22, to better use.
Right. Absolutely. So the last phone I wanted to get to you guys, talk to you guys about, is the Moto E4. Okay? So it says it's $6.05 a month, but there's a deal available. So if you click on that, it says get any smartphone with Sprint Flex and get up to 10 Moto E4s on us for free. So what that's saying is, if you want to get the Moto E4 for free, you have to at least lease 1 phone a month to get 10 of these for free. So you kind of brought it up, Ensley. A lot of families have their parents on their plans. You're going to just notice that. And so let's just say I'm with the customer, they have 5 lines, but the 2 lines are their parents, and they have old flip phones. I'm going to sell them 2 of these Moto E4s. They are, yes, they are smartphones. And that's going to be the first red flag with the parents, like, oh, we don't want smartphones. These are like the most dumbed down smartphones out there. There's nothing fancy about them. it's why they're free. But they're a great phone for elderly people because all you have to teach them is where's the call button, where's their contacts. That's it. And every single person I've sold this phone to, like, that is older, has not once called me and complained that, Seth, I don't like this phone. So that is a great phone but there's a catch. Only people with good credit can get it for free. So if people have bad credit, they can't get it for free. So in that case, yeah, I would sell them the Galaxy J3 Emerge. I mean, some of these, you can see here, this flip phone is $5 a month, $25 down. Like this flip phone's $10 a month. But I've never sold any of these phones down here, ever. I've sold 2 of these. This is that phone that you can actually put like the projector mods on. It's called the Moto Z2 Force. It's actually a really great phone. If people don't want Samsung, they usually have Motos. We have a great deal on it right now. It's actually 50% off, and you can get a free projector, which is valued at $300. So those projectors actually portray a 70-inch projection on the wall. So pretty cool phone. Just something to keep in mind. If someone doesn't want Samsung, that's the go-to then for Android users. Another phone that I sell to people only with bad credit is the ZTE Max. Let's just say they don't want the essential phone, okay, because of the head jack. But they like big phones. I'm selling them the ZTE Max. I think it's the biggest phone on the market right now. It's a 6-inch screen, and it's $5 a month, $25 down. And it comes with a free 32 gigabyte SD card for more memory. So those are the 3 phones that I sell to poor credit people or people with rebuilding credit is ZTE Max, Samsung J3 Emerge, and the Essential phone. If, people need extra lines or they want backup phones and they want them just like cheapo phones, but they have good credit, sell the Moto E4. It's a great tool or phone to have in your back pocket that can add more lines to your sale and get you more money in your pocket that you're making commission on. So I'm just going to go back to the PowerPoint real quick since I'm on this topic. We sent this out to all of your managers. We sent pitch books with this little cheat sheet on it. If you can see in the far right hand side, it says pick your deal, $5 a month with $25 down, or $10 a month with $30 down. These are all the phones that you could sell to people with building credit, and the down payment isn't going to change. So just a little cheat sheet to help you guys remember that. The Essential phone just came out, so we haven't actually updated that yet on this cheat sheet, but something to keep in mind. Another cool promotion that is actually going to be expiring soon. Let me go to is free Hulu. So if any of you guys have Sprint right now, go on to Sprint's website and sign up for this promotion. They will give you Hulu for free. I actually just took advantage of it myself, so now I have Hulu. But just another cool way to impulse your customers to sign up. If they sign up before, well, that's When's the 8th? That's in 3 days. You know, this promotion's only running for a limited time, but, you know, who doesn't want free Hulu? So just something to keep in mind the next couple days when you're selling to your customers. Look, if you sign up today, too, you're actually going to get free Hulu on Sprint. Pretty cool. Does anybody have any questions about pricing for me? I know I kind of just ran through that really fast, but any questions that I can address right now?